Hello there, my lovely jellyfish. And today, we have another Josh Talks to Himself. And I'm glad you came for this one because this one, I have a lot to say about. Because it's just a random topic. And then it was something, I was basically taking my exam for anthropology. And it was something about origin myths. And I remember talking about that a lot. And I just said, hey, why not? I found myself just thinking about um, several origin myths, but actual like just myths in general. And I remember the Philippines had a lot of those. I remember a lot of scary stories from the Philippines that I was told at a very young age. And I found a list that I would like to just talk about. This is on listverse.com. If you just look up scary Filipino myths or Filipino scary myths um, on Google, usually be the first hit. So, these were more or less interesting and less so creepy, but they were creepy when I was a kid. I just want to talk about them because they're just interesting in general, and I remember like a lot of them on this list, and that's why I know a lot about these monsters on this list because these are just the more well told versions. Um, so number 10 on this list is the aswang, which how I can tell you about how I was told or how I interpreted it, how I interpreted it when I was a kid was aswang was just a vampire for me, right? It was the Filipino equivalent of a vampire. Then later on, I found out that it it turned into animals. It was a shapeshifter and would just break into your home and just drink your blood. I thought it was just a vampire in general, but yeah, I didn't even know about the whole like breaking into your home or shapeshifters or steel corpses as this description says. So that was always interesting to me, and like a lot of Filipino TV shows and a lot of media in the Philippines have interpreted these guys as just people with wings just running around, and I always just thought of them as vampire people. That was it. But definitely it was scary when I was a kid, but then now with the way media has turned vampires, less so. Um, Next one on the list is something I've never really heard of, but I think I have like heard of the concept, but I've never heard of the actual like the name, the matrukulan. I don't. I'm again. I do not. I haven't spoken good Tagalog in like a really long time. I don't even know if this word is originally Tagalog, but I have not spoken any like I you can if ever I tried to speak like Tagalog or anything like that, it just sounds like a white guy trying to speak it. Um so this one I didn't even know about this one. It was basically um it like a woman, a virgin apparently, would get just impregnated by this monster, and then as it grows, the it will the monster right before the woman goes into labor, or whenever, like the monster will come back and kill the woman and then eat the fetus, which I thought was pretty counterintuitive, but hey, um right now I think of it as counterintuitive, but apparently some stories, as the list says, like some stories will have the woman already be pregnant, and then the monster will just come and just kill the woman. So the father or the husband has to protect the woman by waving a butterfly knife or the balisong, like just swing the knife when the woman's in labor over the belly. So that one I was just like, I've never heard of it, but I can see, like, especially if people are just like, but I guess that's just a cultural thing. But that's just like, that was just a weird thing. But the next one, I know about this one, is the capre, which is it was just I didn't know that they were giants, but I knew that they smoked and they had like they would just have cigars every time you saw them, but I didn't know it never burnt out. They would just basically, yeah, they would scare people essentially. It doesn't it just enjoys scaring children apparently. I always just thought they were harmless things, but apparently, and it'll just scare your kids. And sometimes apparently they can be friendly. And look, I didn't know any of the background. I just knew that they were gigantic, that they're not gigantic, that they were just things that lived in trees and smoked cigars, which I thought was just a weird thing to think about. Um, Apparently the cigar also contains magical things. But the next one on the list is the duende, right? I just thought of them as dwarves, right? They can bring good luck or they can play pranks on you. And they can just disturb you, apparently. And you can get sick. Wow, they can give you swollen testicles and twisted mouths. Okay. Tabi tabi. Tabi tabi. Oh, tabi tabi. Okay, fine. Let's just move along, please, or whatever. I think. But yeah, I always just thought of them as dwarves that just either could cause good things or bad things. I don't know. I didn't know that they lived underground. I didn't know that they can cause like swollen testicles. That's a thing. Yeah. Oh, the next one is the I never heard of it before. It's the Tianak, which um it's basically it's similar to the siren song where it lures people in, but except with the siren, it's the a baby that just is crying and the person would just become lost, and then like if you find the baby it'll eat you. I didn't know about this. So that's weird, but I guess I mean I wasn't really told these stories because I did live in Saudi Arabia. So like the environment that a lot of these are set in didn't really affect me because I just lived in a desert primarily, a desert city. So it wasn't these would be like set in like small villages or small towns that are completely surrounded by like forests and mountains and like beaches and island stuff. So it was completely different, but I can see the fear. Okay, the Sigbin. I'm butchering all of these. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But pasensya po. But the Sigbin is a hornless goat. Something about like they're just scary when they're flying, vaguely along the lines of a chupacabra. They can eat. They can just eat children. They make amulets out of hearts. It's weird. It's weird, but you know they're just monsters essentially that just have a weird look to them, which is fine. I guess you can have that, but I've never heard of it. So one, two, three. Three of these, three out of the five that I've already talked about, or the six that I've already talked about, I've never heard of. Tikbalang, I might have heard of it because I think I saw it in a movie, a Filipino animated movie one time where he was like the friend. They're not really sinister, but they're just like they're generally harmless as it was described. Again, it's more about pranks and just like smoking. Smoking is a theme for these myths. Like the kapre and the tikbalang are just like things that smoke and smell weird, and they just cause like they're just basically nuisances. Oh, they can be tamed and you can pluck the hairs, and then that's probably what happened in the animated movie. I don't remember what it was called, but I think the main character has like a tikbalang friend. Okay, sure. Again, horseman. It's like an upright centaur. It's like a weirder version of a centaur. Like, you know, horse body but man torso. It's more like man torso, horse head, and horse feet. horse hands and horse feet, basically. They smoke. A lot of these are just a lot of these myths are just like in smoking. I guess that's just a thing in culture, I guess. Kumakatok, that's knocking. They'll knock on your door. I've only heard these vaguely. Oh, if they visit, it's apparently an omen. It's just like if these guys just come out your door, usually, someone in your family will die. So someone will just die. Even if you try to ignore them, someone will die. Apparently, if you can be kept at bay if you don't have any paintings or hangings. I don't understand this myth. I guess it was just a thing that like spread. Ah, this one. The White Lady. I know her. I don't know her as Caparosa, but I know her as the White Lady. This has been a thing that has scared me when I was a kid, just because of how weird it was. I would be often shown photos. This is the one I can tell you a lot about. That and the next one. But I can tell you a lot about the White Lady just because I've been shown a lot of pictures where she was sighted in like the background of something. You know those weird like scary photos where you have like where they could just appear out of nowhere in the photo and just be ingrained in the shot. Like you would just see like this white figure in the background of many photos, and I was just shown a lot of that when I was a kid. And when I saw that, I was just genuinely creeped out, just because of like it's so weird. And people say it's a ghost, you know. I don't really know the history about it, but I just know that that one was the one that affected me. There have been many interpretations, not just like a ghost, but like just a girl in a white garb just walking around. Like I've seen that a lot. There have been many of those like scare pop-up videos where it's like just like them popping out of nowhere, or I've seen a lot of that. And whenever I hear White Lady, it always brings me back to just being a kid and just like being creeped out at this concept of like this. And I remember something about the face covered in blood. I did compare it to Bloody Mary when I was a kid because I was mixing in like American myths or like general Western myths to the Filipino myths, and I was just like finding comparisons. Same thing as how I did with the aswang and the vampire, but this one was more like me to Bloody Mary or ghosts. So that was weird. Something about Japanese soldiers, like, oh, okay. The story says that she was a young lady that was raped and killed by two Japanese soldiers during World War II. So that's still like a redemption ghost story. So I can understand. But the next one, oh man, this is the one that I really find interesting from Filipino myths in general, was that the manananggal, or it's like I don't really know how to explain Filipino linguistics because I just haven't been in that language for so long. But manananggal, they remove themselves, so that whole phrase is like removing or like splitting. But okay, I'm not gonna look at the thing, but it is basically a woman who like I did relate them to an aswang, but like then I thought about it, I'm like, they're not really. The main trait of the manananggal is that it can split from its legs, and its torso and its legs can split, and the torso gets wings which allow it to fly at night, while the legs remain in the place where it was at. So basically, it can just find like a bathroom or something. Usually how it was interpreted in several videos would be like a hut or like something in the woods, and it just fly away and look for things to basically drink blood from, I think, or kill. It's very long tongue, Oh, it would always look for women with fetuses, because then it would use its tongue to grab the fetus out of the uterus, I think. Um yeah. Yeah, it would just retrieve it from the fucking okay. In the typical fashion, garlic and salt apparently. But what I really loved from the manananggal, well, I'll never get tired of saying that. But she would grow wings, right, and fly away. And I remember seeing this one video on YouTube, like maybe like in 2 years ago. Oh, and I always revisit it every time I want to laugh at how funny the interpretation of this monster can be. It's that basically they're useless if you can throw salt at the legs, because they split cleanly off, right? As it was interpreted. Like they can split cleanly off, and then you'll have their lower body exposed, the wound is exposed. So all you have to do is basically just find it. If you see one running around in the sky, or if you feel like, or if you actually see the torso, you just basically grab a bucket of salt and just dump that shit on it, right? It not on the legs, just on the open wound, just like dump. It can be like the religious like grab a handful and like sprinkle, or you can just full on like hardcore baller it and just like dump. So the video I saw was that the lady was just sitting down and like ripped her torso off and flew away, and like this little kid, this little nerd kid, saw the lady fly away and immediately went to the hut and saw that the legs were there. He whipped out like this bag of salt in a paper bag and just started like throwing like viciously, just like throwing salt into the wound. And then like he saw that it wasn't doing as much as he wanted, so he dumped the whole bag on top of the wound and ran away. And the manananggal immediately felt it, and it was so stupid. So as much as I would as much as these guys are, often like a scary thing, it's really easy to get rid of them, just because of they'll fizzle in the sunlight and their lower body will, I don't know what happens, they'll either dissolve or something, or they'll just stay there and you have to bury them. But it's so stupid. But I love Filipino myths, and I'm glad you were here to listen to me banter on about Filipino myths, because honestly, it's a lot of fun. um, Favorite out of all of them, Manananggal. This list is correct. I feel this list got me. But yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to me butcher the Filipino language, Tagalog. I feel. But yeah, I love these monsters, but I don't know if it's a capre or something else, but I remember there was a monster. I think it was a duende that he has his own name, but he would sit in the trees and basically play a tuba. I don't remember what that monster was called, but I'll find out. Thanks again, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can just skip this video if you were just like, what is this topic? But I just thought about it and I said, let's do it, because I really like talking about Filipino culture and what I remember from it. So thanks again, everyone, and yeah, if you don't like this, I'm sorry, but thank you again.